Good morning. It's Sunday. It is August 25th, 2024. My name is Teri Hunter. I'm an intuitive astrologer, and I'm here with your weekly transits, and we're going to do an angel reading and pull a tarot card for each one of the signs. This video is based on whole sign Western astrology. So when I'm talking about a sign, I'm referring to the rising sign as dictating the landscape of the chart and holding the first house. I'm going to start with the sign of the month. So we're going to start with our Virgos. I want to wish you all a happy birthday, my Virgos. And I'm going to talk about some of the transits. So I'm going to give it a minute here. A little bit of a slow start. Good morning. Good morning. Who's ever entered the room? Welcome, welcome. So, is it 11 o'clock? Did I start early? Let me see. It is 11 o'clock. Okay. All right. So this week is pretty significant. We have Mercury going direct. We have Pluto re-entering, good morning, small wildflowers, Capricorn for the last time for 284 years or 48 years. I think it's 248 years. This is going to be so interesting because it's going to hover, I believe, at the 29th degree. Good morning, 145 Club. And it's going to go all the way through the United States presidential election. Pluto will go direct and re-enter Aquarius on November 19th. So what we're watching is a real concentrated energy of Pluto at that 29th degree, which is the Leo degree of leadership, of following your heart, of having the courage to follow your heart, as well as reducing down. 29 reduces down to an 11. So I always think that when we get into those last degrees of any sign, we're looking at mastering our thoughts and our focus about whatever that sign has to offer us. So when we're looking at Capricorn, we're looking at fear, depression, limitation, authority, government. We're looking at things outside of ourselves that influence our liberties, the even society. It's the 10th house is a very public house of reputation. So we're going to be revisiting a lot of things, and we can see in the news how significant what's going on in the United States political arena right now. And while this is not at all focused on politics, the environment is directly affecting our everyday lives. So this is pretty wild. Let's talk a little bit about Mercury going direct. Mercury will go direct on the 28th. And so it is hovering at that around 21 degrees of Leo. And in that, it's making a trine to Chiron in Aries. Aries is the independent, the passionate, the entrepreneur, the brave, the hot-headed one. And this trine between Mercury and Chiron is really giving us an opportunity to examine our thoughts, examine the communications we're having with others, to examine the communications that we are receiving through the media. I think more now than ever, with Jupiter and Mars having transited in that conjunction last week, they're still in, Mars is still in Gemini, but they've moved further away from one another. But I really felt that we were seeing almost an exaggeration within the news of certain themes. So that was very interesting to me. But Mercury going direct, trining Chiron, is giving us an opportunity to look at our independent thought, to look at how brave we are to stand in our uniqueness, our individuality, to look at how the hot side of ourselves is affecting maybe our thoughts and maybe even then into our physical body. The Mercury is also making a sextile to Jupiter this week. And so this is, again, where we're looking at potentially broader thoughts, But we're also looking at the judicial system. We're looking at things that are fair and just. We're looking at the potential for our expansion, for our ability to make money. And I think this is really significant because clearly, I'm trying to be so diplomatic because I don't want to drift off into some kind of, polarizing conversation, but the things happening outside of us are affecting our everyday lives right now. Even your belief system could be, contrary to those that you love or people that you interact with, and it's creating tension. So, forewarned is forearmed. Being aware of our thoughts, we can neutralize those conversations because on the 28th, Mercury goes direct. On the 29th, Venus enters her rulership of Libra. And as she does that, she's approaching the supergalactic center. And that supergalactic center is a powerful point within that Shapley cluster that illuminates the relationships that we have with ourselves and how the relationship we have with ourselves, with our money, Venus, with our beauty, Venus, with our comfort, Venus, with our sense of connection and partnership, Venus, with our friends, with the feminine energy. It's all coming up for sort of a evaluation to something, giving us an opportunity to think about how those things are flourishing and expanding within our lives. Because that Venus, not only in her rulership, but coming up on that supergalactic center is an opportunity to discern. That's the way I want to put it, to discern that which comes towards me and that which feels authentic within me. I think this is super, super powerful. That supergalactic center is basically the focus is on self as source energy. And I had a comment on a video last week that said that my readings feel like therapy. And, I don't disagree with that because from my perception, each one of the planets represents an aspect of my character. And as they transit, they give me opportunities to have awareness of my character, whether my thoughts, my character, my way of being is working for me or inadvertently disrupting things so that I'm not getting what I want. So if we look at these astrology as layers, not only do the planets represent something, an aspect within yourself, they represent an aspect outside of yourself. Because as co-creators, we create dynamics outside of ourselves to stretch ourselves from the inside out. So I think this is really powerful. And we also kind of have, and it happened already, but I think that we're still feeling Pluto is at 0 degrees of Aquarius. Aquarius is, the higher, Uranus represents the higher octave of Mercury. So where Mercury is representing our everyday thoughts, the things that we have to focus on to get our lives running and moving forward, Uranus is thinking about the future and about how the future everyday activities will happen. So I think this is really powerful because, again, Uranus is stationing to move retrograde in Taurus. It will stay in Taurus until January 2025. So I keep saying sorry, but as I'm thinking, I just keep seeing sort of this lightning strike, potential rebellion, potential feeling on various levels. Again, looking at what houses these are for you can give you an idea of how it will play out. For me, Uranus is in the second house of Taurus. I'm an Aries rising. Pluto is retrograding back into my 10th house. And it really gives me an opportunity to see how my fears get in my way, how my sense of authority. I feel themes from a year ago coming back up as well, almost for a revisit. So you might even want to look back what was happening last October for you, and see if those aren't coming back up for you to walk through them, but with an awareness that you didn't maybe have last year. And that could be Venus's support by realizing that you are in many ways source. So you don't give up your power to another. I think those are the most powerful things. Uranus is going to retrograde from 27 degrees of Taurus to 23 degrees. I'm bringing this up. It happens actually next Sunday, the 1st. Pluto moves into Capricorn and Uranus moves into, or moves retrograde in Taurus. But we're going to feel all of this week. I mean, we're already feeling it. But it's, that stationing is where the planet sort of stands with its hands on its hips in the sky. And the main thing I want to talk about with Pluto is that 600, or that huge heart, that I think it's a 600-mile heart that you see from space, because there's a tumultuous chemical reaction happening under the surface that illuminates this heart. And I think that's very key, because in all of our lives, there'll be some kind of illumination that feels as if we're at a crossroads. And which direction will I walk? If I walk towards my dreams, will I feel safe? Or if I walk towards what I've always done that I know but doesn't really work for me, will I be safe? It's a weird time. It's a very weird time. Oh, did you have some sort of accident with your car and the sidewalk, both ruled by Uranus? Both ruled by Mercury, by Gemini. Okay, so overall, I just want to kind of say, you guys, expect people to be hot this week. Expect, again, moving forward, people being passionate. I think there's a sense of selfish. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Stephen. There's a sense of self-righteousness that can be attached to Jupiter in its most challenging dynamic. And I feel like that's kind of playing up a little bit. We have a challenging aspect between Pluto and Jupiter that we were experiencing. So, if you as the aware human are interacting with people who are in a pattern, you have an opportunity to recognize your own pattern within the situation and to sidestep it, or to act in a more aware way that helps neutralize whatever dynamic you're playing within this. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll put it this way. I'll tell you a little story. Last week, I went to this market across the street. I bought a salad. I got charged for 2. I didn't notice it till the next day. I called in. She's like, she wouldn't let me finish my sentence before she was ready to give me my refund. And then the refund never came through. The salad I got was wrong. And the woman then villainized me because she said she gave the credit back to the wrong person. So there were 3 different infractions that were basically all her fault, because she was moving so quickly and Miss Know-It-All that she didn't check things. Okay. Now I had an opportunity to get hot about it or not. And I chose to take sort of the not, because I'm more aware that these dynamics right now are not just about someone else being wrong, but how do I handle it? How forgiving am I? How calm am I? How peaceful am I? I know it sounds a little kumbaya, but I got to tell you, these times feel very reticent to the late 1800s, if you get my drift. And I feel that we are teeing up for some things, Uranus ruling rebellion and fighting old systems and wanting to revolutionize the old and renovate. So our awareness through these times will keep us on the more neutral side of the street, as they say. As I became more aware of other people's hotness and people who wanting to just fight for no reason, I became more polite, honestly. I started to be more polite. I started to, if someone was walking towards me and it was cramped, I decided I wasn't in a hurry, I would wait. And I started to see that people were being even more polite back. So the law of attraction was starting to become more aware in my presence, that as I'm walking through what I think is a little bit of a landmine field, my awareness of it can neutralize a situation. So, and I guess the theme might be this week, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? And happy sometimes just walks away from something. Yeah, I got to tell you, it feels like these debates come out of nowhere, Stephen. It's just people are very impassioned right now. They're very aware of the Saturnian energy. This is Pluto going back into Capricorn. The focus. I literally went to buy my cocoa powder for my coffee, which 2 months ago was $10.99 for 18 ounces, and now it's $14.99. I mean, it's so incredibly obvious. Gas prices, everything. So people are all very heated and very impassioned about the solution. Not everybody's going to agree on the solution, which is what this country is based on. So I want to remember that, and I want to, foster that patriotism of being open to other people's thoughts. Okay, they do need to mind their own damn business, but right now everybody thinks everything's their business. That's Jupiter, Mr. Know-it-all, no offense, in Gemini. Jupiter in its challenging energy in Gemini is going to come in and go, let me tell you how to do it, people. Let's look at the big picture. I know it. So, I agree. I feel a little more tucked into home lately. I feel a little more, uh, did anybody get the grounding sheet, by the way, from that I was raving about last week? Because it has made a huge difference also, I think, in my attitude. So I don't know if anybody got it, but if you did, I'd love to hear how you responded to it. All right, let me officially again, because there's people in the room finally when I started talking. Happy birthday, Virgo. Welcome to your season. I hope you have a wonderful solar return. And I hope that the next year, through your awareness, sees you maneuvering this landscape with the prowess of everything that you've experienced and learned up until now. Okay, let's go on and let's see what our tarot card is for our Virgos. Rest. Oh my goodness, look at this. Rest, rest, rest. Turn it over to God. Let Jesus take the wheel for a minute. This is the knight that has been through the wars. He's not on a coffin. He is now taking time to commune with God, to replenish through that experience. And it's always interesting to me when I see in the sword deck, often you'll see depicted underneath here the subconscious thoughts. And this kind of takes me back to the comment about being a therapy session, because our thoughts are things, and whether we realize it in this moment that we are co-creators, it will become more and more obvious to us as Pluto enters Aquarius and the other outer planets change signs in the next few years. So right now, this resting of the thoughts really is focused in on the three swords that are up on the top, because this is what the gentleman knows. This is what the knight knows. And it isn't until he communes with God that he's aware of any of the underbelly that could potentially still be affecting him. So let's look and see where we're going. All right. Our first angel is Daniel, the angel of marriage. We have Astera saying to reach for the stars and don't compromise. We have Rochelle, who's telling you prosperity comes from following your heart. And then Bethany is about self-care, which takes us right back to the Four of Swords. Let's look at our next deck. Oops. So if we think about Venus moving into Libra this week, we also know for our Virgos that that's your second house. Your second house of your skills, your money, your self-worth, your possessions, what the things you can potentially grow. Oh, we have Daniel being joined by the dog. We have Astera being joined by the fear card. We have Rochelle being joined by the focus card. And we have Bethany being joined by the cow. All right, so this is what I want to say for my Virgos. Virgo is one of the signs that very much wants to look at the roadmap ahead, to plan for, to prepare for. I want to make sure I have everything I need in the car in case anybody's hungry, thirsty, cuts their knee, needs an eye drop, blah, blah, blah. Well, every once in a while, again, Virgo, Jesus, take the wheel. Happy birthday, small. Because this is really about the rest and the relaxation, and maybe even a declaration for your solar return, that part of your ability to trust comes from your letting yourself rest and connect with spirit. Because here we have Daniel, the angel of marriage, and the dog. The dog represents love. It represents loyalty and sincerity. And then we have Daniel representing the history and partnerships. And I think that now this may be a little bit about thinking about cooperation. Let's take the intimacy out of partnership, but rather talk about the other aspects of Libra, which is cooperation, a sense of peace, a sense of harmony, a sense of balance. Here, I really think that this is on the docket for your solar return. For those born this week, this is really powerful for you because your ruling planet is about to go direct in the sign of personal pleasure. It's also your 12th house, your 12th house of, oh yeah, oh yeah, the dog was barking. I'm so used to it, I don't even really hear it. I'm going to hear it, but I don't. I want to offer this because as Mercury goes direct in your 12th house, there's this karmic dynamic of reviewing how much you allow yourself to have enjoyment. Because if you think about the idea that the 12th house is invisible, it's where you spend time alone, it's where you actually sleep and rest. And yet Virgo tends to be very focused on the task at hand, on getting everything done. I have a strong Virgo energy with my Venus in Virgo, so I tend to have to clean everything up and make sure it's all neat before I can relax. So here, because Astera says to reach for the stars with your dreams and desires, and there's the fear card. And I think that this is a bit of a polarity here. I think this fear card may be what represents what sits down under here. Virgo can be in its challenging energy. If I don't do it, it won't get done. If I don't take care of it, nobody else will do it. And that is a co-creation of other people knowing that you'll pick up the slack because you can't stand to have things unorganized. So now the focus is on what brings me joy and serenity and happiness. And that brings in prosperity. Because the focus card is a teaching card. It's the master number 33. And we end with this Bethany talking about self-care. And through self-care, you have this feeling of abundance starts to come in. And I also think this is about replenishing yourself, about sort of thinking about what nourishes you. So if this is your solar return week, thinking about what you love, spending time with your angels and your guides and saying, you know what, so you all know I'm an old woman now. I'm 64, I'll be 65. Y'all started with me when I was still in my 50s. And there are certain things that I don't need, but there are things that I want. And there are things that don't always make sense. I don't need a new pot, but I want a new pot. Something like that. For my Virgos, I think this is a potential for you to take this solar return of 2024 and looking at the 2024 as an 8. 8 is the number for transformation and prosperity, both mentally and emotionally. And I think as you are loyal to the things of your heart and the things that you want, you'll start to feel and see more of those things coming to you. Kind of like I play with the lottery. This last week I knew, don't play the lottery. You're not going to win much because your vibration is off. So I just took a little week off. And then I didn't take the whole week off. I did buy 1 or 2 tickets, but they were, so no worries because I knew my vibration was off. When you start to organize things, once all that's done, or if you want to take a nap, take a nap. Give yourself a break, Virgo. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay. Onward and upward. Do you normally not have to make your own breakfast, Stephen? Because that's the kind of makes me want to chuckle, because you're so used to having a partner that you have to make your own breakfast. I'm so used to not having a partner. It would be weird if someone made me breakfast. I'd be like, what? Oh my gosh, how weird. Is today your birthday? Please tell me, because I don't have it on in my thoughts. Small, is today your birthday? Don't make me look your birthday up. Is it today your birthday? Is it this week? Happy birthday, Small. I hope you have a wonderful solar return. Oh, we'll have to do something about that. I'm so bad with birthdays. I think it's because I spend so much time trying to forget mine. I want to say this. It's Small's birthday today, so happy birthday. But to me, she's the greatest gift to have her in this chat. You guys all love her. She is your mama in that chat. So I just want to say thank you. You're a blessing, and I'm so grateful for the day you were born. All right, let's go on to our Libras. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. All right, well, this is a fun, fiery energy. This is double fire, actually. It also has a teenage feel to it. So there's a lot of passion. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of creativity. There's a lot of fire with this. Let's see, Libra. Every time I've worked with these tarot cards for decades, and I still see new things or they come into my awareness like they haven't before. When I look at this knight, I notice his leg is very stiff and straight. It's almost as if he's trying to put on the brakes, or I don't know, it's weird. And at the same time, the horse feels like it's rearing to move ahead. And I wonder if this stiff leg has something to do with well, let's see where we're going with this. Because the metallic part of it, the armor, I almost feel like it's like it might be saying to be more flexible. Let's see. Our first angel for our Libras is Rosetta. The second is Crystal, saying have faith and hope. Adriana is leading you to the answers, and victory is here. Yay. And these two look very similar. Oh, no. Oh, Stephen, we'll say prayers for you as you're on. It must be so weird when you're used to having someone in your house all the time to have the quiet of no one. No, literally, I'm not making a joke. I mean that. Because I'm the opposite. I'm so used to being alone that I'm hyper, like I feel off balance if somebody is here too long. All right. Libra, joining Rosetta is the Baird. Crystal is being joined by the Wasp. Adriana is being joined by the High Priestess. And Omega is being joined by the Movement card. One of the things about the Libra energy for a while is the South Node going through your first house. And that's a real challenging dynamic, because the South Node is a point of release. It's a point where, we call them Rahu and Ketu being the tail of the dragon and the South Node. And it's where toxic energy is released. And sometimes that toxic energy is not necessarily outside of ourselves, but how we're viewing our obligations within ourselves. Because as I look at the Baird here, it not only represents history, it represents the enchantment of storytelling. And then we look at this Rosetta representing children, parenting, teaching, guiding children in some way. And I almost feel like for my Libras, this could be Spirit offering you an opportunity to start to tell a new story where you win, where your passion, the things that you want are actually coming to you. And this leg is interesting, because if I look at it, it's the left leg. It's very stiff. It has this armor, which is mercurial feeling in the silverness of it. And I wonder if in some level there could potentially be these thoughts of, I'm not sure I'll receive. I think of the left side as the feminine side of receiving, and then the right side is the action side of assertion. So here, I feel like potentially whatever you're looking for, it's time to tell a new story with the innocence of a child. Because up until now, you may have been feeling slighted. This is not an easy energy, this wasp. It talks about anger, and it talks about retaliation, and it talks about jealousy. And Crystal's saying have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. This potentially could be, uh, Libra rules balance and it rules justice, but it doesn't mean that you don't ever disagree or feel challenged in some way. I feel like this is your potential anger or your potential discord, whatever is out of balance for Libra has a potential of balancing, but part of it is trusting a bigger picture. And in that bigger picture, it means that there's other components, there's other elements, there's other potential dynamics that you can't see with your eyes that could come into play. So let me offer it this way. Sometimes when we don't assert ourselves in a way that is frustrated or angry, the universe brings in a third party who inadvertently, without even realizing it, will tell a story or bring up an example that is aligned to the situation. I don't know what it is, but for me, I feel like for my Libras, if you have felt thwarted in some way, if you have felt blocked, if you have felt that hurt because some of your relationships have shifted as a result of that south node, I think something bigger is coming in, or something is going to get a 2.0 version that will feel more aligned. Adriana says she's leading you to the answers to your prayers. And then here is this high priestess. And I think this is more of an inner knowing and also a discernment. And then we see the victory card in the form of Omega. And then we see this movement card. So we've got movement here. We've got two horses that are both rearing. So something is going to shift for you. And potentially the entry of Pluto back into Capricorn could start to reveal the beginning of the end of whatever is going on. I feel like I have this cycle. I've been talking about, you guys, I have this legal thing going on behind the scenes, and I haven't heard anything in months. And yet the time of what is been projected for the conclusion is over the next 2 months. So something is starting to happen. And I feel like for my Libras, as Venus moves into your first house this week and hits that super galactic center, it would be a real opportunity for you to not only see yourself as source, but see yourself as supported by source through your thoughts. That's how you help source bring in the dynamics that you want and you need. The news is so 145 Club. I can't even get over how obvious the news is. I used to hear all this fake news stuff all the time, and I didn't really see it. I didn't get it. I'm like, really? And now it's so obvious to me. I think this is Jupiter and Mars in Gemini. I think this is that warring energy of Mars and Jupiter expanding it in the media. Gemini rules journalism, news, our scrolling feeds, TikTok. And I don't like the word X, so I'm just going to be old and call it Twitter because I thought that was a better name. The full moon, yeah, there was squares. Mars was also there, but Jupiter and Saturn had their first of 3 squares. It is. I think we're living in historic times that people read about the way they read about the American Revolution and they read about the Civil War. And if you guys know anything about history, you will see some really interesting correlations and alignments, which is why I think it's so important to continue to use our awareness, like literally it's not choices, aren't made easily, but the awareness behind the choice, you know what I mean? So, am I going to engage in that argument? Am I going to go to battle with that person? When I mentioned the woman across the way, she's a perfectly nice person, but she is Miss Know-it-all. So if I go in and try to talk to her and, make her admit that she was wrong, I'm just going to get into a frustrating situation. So I'm not going to do it. And that's with everything. And yes, history is absolutely being made. In fact, this will be remembered in ways that nobody realizes. Before I move on to my Scorpios, I have been looking at both candidates, meaning the main two, and their synastry chart with the United States. So I took Kamala's and I put her and the United States together. And then I put Donald Trump and the United States together. And while I haven't formulated, I'm a little reticent to honestly put out a video because my Libra doesn't want to get into politics in a battle. But the thing that really struck me was that there's a really big Saturn in I believe it's Kamala's 10th house, but it could be the United States 10th house. Kamala has Saturn there, and then there's a wound. I can't remember if it's, I know the United States' Chiron is in Aries, and that's the 5th house. So let me think for a second. I got to think what the 10th house is for Sagittarius. Is that Gemini? No, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Libra. It's Virgo. It's Virgo. So I'm a little, that got me a little interested. She has a Gemini rising. So she has, they both have a lot of karma going on in this dynamic. So it is very, very interesting. But overall, the United States is going through a transformation. When Jupiter moved, Jupiter's currently in the United States 7th house of peace and harmony. And Mars has been traveling through the United States 7th house. Now it's going to move into the 8th house. And when Jupiter next year moves into the 8th house, it's going to hit a stellium for the United States. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. All right, let's go on to our Scorpios, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. We have an infusion of passion, an infusion of ideas, meaning creative ideas. We have a gift from God in some way. Let's see. This is for Scorpio, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Exactly, Stephen. This is also kind of why I like to look at it in Placidus, because that's where you really see the degree of the rising sign shows the, when you look at the chart in Placidus, you'll see that the houses are so, they'll be dramatic houses. Some will be very small, some will be very large. And I sometimes wonder if those large houses are not indicating even more emphasis or focus. All right, Scorpio. So let's see where this Ace of Wands is taking us. Vanessa is going to ask you if you're going to make your decisions based on faith or fear. Crystal's talking about something happening out of your sight line. It happens. Something's happening that you can't see. We have Celeste representing a new job or potential move to a new home. Could be a shift of the mind. And Oceana is talking about trusting your gut and moving lovingly in that direction. You know, I've said this a few times. I think Scorpio is one of the most, if not the most, intuitive sign. Often we give it to Cancer and we give it to Pisces. But with Scorpio, you know, Scorpio is of the water signs is the most focused on self, on power and control. And because of the shadow side of Scorpio, it is very aware of how to manipulate people, you know, make them do what they want, know where their Achilles heel is, where their vulnerability is. And then as a result of that, that sort of heightens their intuitive abilities. So now you take that and you use it for good, for your inspirations, and you're really unstoppable. And this is where Pluto is your friend, where it gives you great power. But an awareness of that power is meaning not drinking the Kool-Aid of the power, you know, really realizing the responsibility that comes along with it. All right, Vanessa is being joined by the frog. Crystal's being joined by Merlin. Celeste is being joined by the owl. And Oceana is being joined by the fear card. So again, we're talking about new ideas potentially. There, you know, I'm kind of a little bit triggered by that comment about therapy, because I think it's very true. What I say is it does have a real therapeutic sort of flair to it. But again, I think that everything we create is based on our belief and our emotional body. And if our emotional body is out of alignment or is in fear, we don't manifest the things we want. So Scorpio, you have an opportunity through new ideas and new inspirations to feel a release of some kind, an integration, to move out of fear and into faith. You know, the thing about Scorpio, it's so powerful. I wonder sometimes if Scorpio isn't the most powerful sign in the zodiac, because it rules so much of the darkest points of humanity. And it is in the darkness that we find our courage, we find our strength, we find our wisdom. So here, I think this is potentially a courage to go into a new direction. Scorpio is a fixed sign. And so here is an opportunity for balance. And Crystal saying to trust something outside of yourself, something outside of your physical awareness. Because I think that what the owl is offering is that inner knowing between deception and wisdom. It's a sight thing. And I'm not sure at this moment that that even means that there's a physical move as much as there's an emotional shift through some sort of new idea. And now you get to really kind of start to focus in on, do I make my decisions here based on an inner knowing of truth versus potential fear? So let me try to be more clear. This month of August, since we went in the Mercury retrograde, my whole schedule got quiet. And for me to only have 12 or 15 appointments a week is very unusual. Usually I'm much more busy. And so there was a part of me, I cleaned my carpets, I cleaned out my closet. I was like you, I was organizing small. And the whole time I had this little boogeyman in my head saying, maybe I'm never going to book anybody again. Maybe I'm hitting the skids. Maybe it's all falling apart. And then the other part of me said, don't be ridiculous. This is an ebb and a flow. This is what Scorpio. This is a sort of like, this is kind of taking the dark side of you and starting to look and go, really? Is it going to be that bad? Am I going to let myself go down that road, or do I know that something is shifting? Because I really do think that you have an opportunity to have new inspired ideas. And this would be where something crappy happens, but it actually works for your benefit. So if something goes away or something gets released and it initially starts a little bit of fear, then there's always that opportunity that fear is just a temporary bubble. And as you trust yourself, you start to reveal something more tangible in your physical experience. The other thing I want to say about Scorpio is it rules other people's money. So if for some reason you have concerns about clients or about a flow of resources, just know that is what it is. It's a flow, and we have an ebb and we have the flow. So connect with your guys and your team, because you could have been this week tired, distracted, God, so many things are going on. So meaning emotionally for us all, we can sit in our own homes and end up having anxiety just watching the freaking DNC. I don't know if any of you watched it, but it gave me anxiety. Honestly, really did. Welcome, Lucy. Good to see you. Hello, everybody who's come in the room and everybody who is out not commenting in the chat. Welcome. All right, let's go on to our Sagittarius' rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Lucy, it's Small's birthday today. She is having her solar return. She's setting her intentions for prosperity in the coming year, ease and flow. Are you agreeing with me, Stephen, that you got a little anxiety too? Hi, Pixie Sacred Journey. Good to see you. Jules, good. I know it's been a really wild week. It feels, I just think this is the beginning. I don't think that this is at all. I think we just got on the ride. We just strapped ourselves in and we just went up the first roller coaster. So I know everybody, it's Small's birthday. Let's send her some love. All right, we're going on to our Sagittarius rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Oh, we like this Queen of Pentacles. She is at ease with her resources. I love the bunny and, jumping in. There's a potential for prolific things going on. But let's see what this is talking about, because again, we've had, click. It's just, I don't even know how to explain how I've never been so anxious and felt so patriotic at the same time. I literally feel like I'm reliving some memory of some time. And I don't know, there were times that I literally can cry at what I hope, our country will remember about itself. All right, let's see what our Queen of Pentacles has to say for our Sagittarians. Rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Our first angel is Merlina. The second is Grace and Antoinette. The third is Isabella. And the final is Adriana. I kind of want to offer you this idea. I don't know why Sagittarius. Maybe it could be for any of you, regardless of sign. You may find inspirations inside of your frustrations. So let's say that you are engaging in certain live media. You're on a streaming platform and someone's live, and you find yourself frustrated by the experience. That could be the very inspiration that makes you want to birth something that counters your frustration. So let's say you went into a live and you go to voice your opinion, and because you don't agree with everybody in the live, they jet you out of the room and they won't let you in. So you feel inspired to do something different. I feel like there potentially could be something new that you want to build. I don't know why I'm going there. I just am. Merlina is being joined by the Mystery card. Grace and Antoinette is being joined by the Truth card. Isabella is being joined by the Knowledge and Healing Serpent. And Adriana is being joined by Merlin, Alchemy, Justice, and Balance. Jupiter rules justice. Jupiter is in Gemini, in the sign of justice for the people. I don't know if you guys know that, but Mercury and Gemini rule democracy, freedom of speech and thought. So I think that this is an opportunity for, there could be, the queens always represent the water element, and then whatever the element is of their sign. So here we see water and earth together. Water makes the earth grow. And here Merlina talks about potentially confusion, but there's an opportunity for balance, but balance comes through the choice. I feel like there's the potential that Sagittarius either has a new idea or there's a potential idea coming that will help birth more resources. And as a result of that, you'll move into a new direction that potentially brings more ease for you. But in the beginning of the process, I think it's about ease during the inspiration. I don't know why I want to put it this way. When I'm looking at this queen, I think I'm going to grow something. I think I'm going to build something. Look at her red tunic. Look at that green that's coming from her crown. So my heart wants to build something in the material world. And the rabbit is offering me a prolific experience. But I think a lot of it comes from a deeper truth within you, Sagittarius. So Sagittarius rules publishing. It rules marketing. It rules branding. And so in many ways, I think it rules influencers, people who can get on the internet and share their philosophies and their ideas. I'm not telling you that that's what will be done, but somewhere you have a deeper truth, and it's time to have compassion for that truth. And then the timing is right for either to share your knowledge or to allow yourself to be healed through your knowledge. And when I think of healing, I think of a balancing act, because Adriana is leading you towards balance, the alchemy of something. They're bringing a sense of justice in. Justice is fairness. Balance is understanding the ebb and the flow of the roller coaster. And alchemy is where going through this pressurized situation in order to create something of value. So I think this has more to do with potentially, knowing that right now, if there is any indecision or if things are slow, Mercury retrograde, if you're not getting answers from the people, or I literally had like 12, 15 people reach out and then just disappear, but they'll come back. That's what I have to remind myself. This is the nice thing about the transits. Oh, they'll be back, the Mercury retrograde, in addition to the other things that are happening. Venus in Virgo is never sexy. She's of service there, and she's been transiting that. So the service may be something more about being aware of a process. That's where I'm going. Hope that made sense. Oh, Sailor Moon, is that something that has to do with one moon, or is that a moon altogether? I would assume a sailor's moon would be a full moon where you could see the skies. Or maybe it's a new moon where you can see the stars because it's so dark. I don't know. But all I know is I don't want to be crossing the sea on a ship for months at a time. It makes me, just the thought of it makes me feel nauseous. All right, we're going on to our Capricorns, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Enjoy your visit with your dad and your family. Oh, when I think about how many people there was only mode of transportation for hundreds of years, unless, you listen to Ancient Aliens. But in any case, so, all of us have probably in prior lives been either on the top deck or underneath the deck of a boat for months. No, thank you. I'll just look at the ocean from here. All right, let's go on to our Capricorns, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, we know that Pluto is moving back into the last degrees of Capricorn. And this is really in some respects, this is a challenging energy. We're looking at the Eight of Swords. This is where there are so many thoughts, so many possibilities, so many things that are just knotting this person up. She could wiggle out of those bandages, but for some reason she's caught. Her hands feel tied behind her, and yet they're really not. When I say really not, it's because the choices more likely have to do with other people. And I say that because the 8 is the 8th house of other people's money, other people's resources. So inadvertently, there could be that when you're looking at whatever the possibilities are, each possibility feels as if it's a double-edged sword, which is tying you up. Let's look and see. This person's brain is going, this card, the person's brain is kind of running. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Landlubber on the seas. Whoops. I just can't go below deck. I'm usually fine when I'm on the deck, but inevitably I have to go to the bathroom and I can't hang off the side of the boat. And if I go underneath, I'm instantly sick. I can't even walk down the stairs without feeling sick. So wow. Well, Jules, I just want to offer this because that's exactly the kind of conversation just stay away from for now. We still have a lot of spiky energy between Mercury and Uranus are going to make a square soon. And yeah, so just kind of, if one can just sort of put those more challenging conversations on hold. All right, Capricorn, where are we going? Our first angel is Athena. It's safe for you to lovingly assert yourself. This may have you so caught up in other people, their reaction, what will happen, what will be the domino effect. Athena is being joined by Isaiah, which is you are being protected while new ideas are being formed and implemented. We see Shanti, the angel of peace, and then Caressa saying you're at the end of a life cycle. Okay, Athena is being joined by the love card. Isaiah is being joined by the frog. Shanti is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. And Caressa is being joined by the swan. All right, so we know that Pluto has been transiting the first house of Capricorn for a long time, which was going to transform who you are, how you think, how you project yourself. And the challenge with that is often humans they want us to change, but they're also used to us being a certain way, and we can get a lot of resistance. I think potentially that Eight of Swords has to do with Pluto's effect on Capricorn as it's gone through your first house. Capricorn is such a dutiful, responsible, enduring sign that it can very easily be like, well, I'll just get this done and I'll just be responsible to that and I'll just do this. And then inadvertently, time just goes by and you become less and less a priority to yourself. And the the responsibilities and duties become a higher and higher priority. Now, Athena is offering you an opportunity to lovingly assert yourself towards that which you love. I don't know that I'm talking about a relationship. This is, Teri as an individual feels very strongly about the relationship with self, because if I don't have a good relationship with myself, I don't usually have a good relationship with anyone else. If I'm hot, if I'm needy, if I feel like I'm being ripped off, that no one appreciates me, then I'm going to be like that. I'm going to be like, well, you don't appreciate me, or I'm going to get caught up in that. The reason I say this is because I think this is lovingly asserting yourself towards whatever you want. Maybe it's about stop thinking about what everybody else, how they'll perceive it, or how it will change your, people will talk, people will say things. Oh no, I think this is a release. I think sometimes we have to go through the idea that others don't get our shifting, our evolving, our changing. And then as they start to experience it, it gives them an opportunity to integrate, to see this, because the frog is all about the release of an emotional baggage of some kind, the cleaning of the house of the mind. Clearly, the mind is riddled with many, many these aren't opportunities, these are thoughts. These are thoughts that have to do with duty and obligation that make me feel tied up. And here we see Isaiah saying it's time to give birth to new ideas, that you're being protected. Now in the angel's advice, you have an opportunity to rebirth a sense of tranquility and peace, a sense of Capricorn of understanding that to care for the self is actually the best way to be able to care for others. We see Caressa is at the end of a life cycle, and then we see the transformational swan. And this is really where you kind of have evolved from maybe being that human who listens to the human structure that is really out of balance, but will do it anyway. And then all of a sudden you start to take on the Titan that Saturn is, the actual God that sees a bigger picture. And I talk about God in the sense of Greek God, Roman God, depending on what you want to call Saturn, because I think your transformation comes in trusting and inner knowing that maybe I've been doing things that have been good for others, but are they good for me? And have I inadvertently put myself in such a small box, or in such a small at such a small priority, and now it's time for me to put myself at a higher priority? And when I think of that, I think about my peace of mind, my calm, my sense of harmony in the world. So this might be about reevaluating some of the mercurial energies in your life, and that can be not just siblings and or I was going to say not just news and media, but siblings and people that you interact with. And I'm not saying that you need to break up with your friends or family, but maybe just, again, a deeper awareness of who stokes this evolved version of you that supports your peace and happiness, and who sort of wants to put you back in a box that they're used to. Because I don't think you can put baby in a corner anymore. Not my baby goats. They want to laugh and they want to play. So there's going to be an illumination of whatever is those last little remnants of fears, depressions, thinking, obligation. I think I told you guys last week that I got a call from my bio mom a week ago Wednesday, and it kind of triggered me into an old vibration. And this week, as I reflect on it, I really didn't need to take any action. If I had trusted my gut, I would have known that my mother has never taken care of me, not when I was a baby. Why would she actually give me anything in her old age? It must have been some sort of manipulative thing. And sure enough, I never heard from her again. Big, long message about how much she loves me and she wants to give me this after she dies. And then she disappears. It's fine. I mean, I don't really want to interact with her, but it's just that kind of thing, Yes, happy birthday to Small. Okay. Happy solar return. On to our Aquarius' rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, this is the Seven of Wands. Now, this is a card that when you first look at it, this guy looks like he's defending himself. His face is stressed out. So I don't know if I really buy that he's leading people, but I do think that he's defending himself out of habit. I think when I look at this, his wide stance and having that water sort of in between his left leg, That's his left leg, right? No, that's his left leg. I feel like there is this, and with his right leg on the ground, I feel like this guy is defending himself from old habits and stances, and that he gets to be a little bit more aware of his emotional body. Let's look and see where we're going. Welcome, Nikki Lane from Canada. So nice to see new face in the room, new energy in the room. Because for my Aquariuses, you're unique, you're different, you have a lot of ideas, you're a little bit rebellious, and I don't think that if for some reason there's been something where you have to defend yourself, or you have people in your life that make you feel defensive, this is a week, or maybe it's longer than a week. It's definitely a time to be aware. That's all I can say. Because I just feel like taking those energies in your life that rub up against you, you got to take them with very small doses right now, because the stars are very inflamed, and one can crack out of nowhere and have a moment they weren't expecting. Like, I can do this, and then someone triggers you, and you're just old habits. All right, Isaiah. New ideas. Caressa, the end of a life cycle. Sonia, your guides are with you. And here's Mystique to keep charging ahead. Isaiah is telling you that there are signs and omens, because he's being joined by the hawk. We have the disruption card joining Caressa. We have Sonia being joined by the Lady of the Lake. And then we have the mystery card. All right, I'm going to say this. For my Aquariuses, rising moon, sun, and stelliums, if you have unique and different ideas, if you have, about anything, I can't help it. We are literally, less than about 2 months away from a very pivotal historic election. And I'm pretty sure that after the election will be a lot of history made, because I don't know if the results are going to be so clear cut. And I feel like for my Aquariuses, this is a really good time to rise above any situation that makes you feel defensive, to give birth to new ideas. I found this live stream that I've been enjoying quite a bit, and it is a political stream, but it is not a biased political stream. It's actually why I think I'm feeling so patriotic, why I'm feeling like I want to be nicer than I want to be confrontational. I want to have more manners and courtesy, because it's bringing out in me this sense of trying to remember that we're all of the same. We're all one. We're all leaves on the same damn tree. We may have a different view because you're on one side of the tree and I'm on the other, but that doesn't. And so I believe for my Aquariuses, don't defend yourself. This is the end of disruption, the end of, and I want to offer it this way, because your ruling planet is stationed to go retrograde. It's going to go retrograde on the 1st. That's next Sunday. So we're going to feel this standing in the sky in Taurus of my personal history and my skills. And this is what I want to say too, because I don't want to defend myself or my skills to you. When I recently spoke to my sister, I was telling her about my 10-year anniversary of doing intuitive readings, and she could have less interest in it. And I realized that was an old story, and I could go back into that weird energy, because here I think for my Aquariuses, your team is like, just own who you are. Don't worry about the other humans in your life right now. Don't worry about the other situations in your life. There's a bit of a struggle going on, but your personal self-respect is so important right now. The things that are authentic to you, your unique expression. The Lady of the Lake is about the courage to step into your personal truth. And now here we have the choice card in the form of the mystery card. And then we have Mystique saying to keep charging ahead, to expect miraculous solutions. So where I'm going with this is, if Aquarius is embarking upon something new, and if you're familiar with Esther and Jerry Hicks and the law of attraction and Abraham's teachings, Jerry would always say, if you come up with a new idea, don't tell anybody about it. And not because you're trying to keep them from duplicating the idea, is because their input is usually fear-based. Well, how are you going to do that? Where's the money for this going to happen? Da-da-da-da-da. And I feel like, stay away from anyone that you feel you have to defend yourself to, and then you'll show them down the line. Aquarius is about to go through a very magnificent change. But before that magnificent change happens, there'll be a deconstruction of whatever's in the way, whatever, whatever soft spots there are on the floor, whatever termites have been eating the wood of your house. And here, there's going to be an opportunity for you to really see, because you're future thinking, those signs and omens, and start to trust that inner voice more than you hear the outer voice. I think self-love actually helps people be more patient with other people, because you're saying to yourself, it's not worth it for me to get all worked up. It's not worth it for me to go down that road. When I mentioned earlier about the woman across the street at the market, I felt really, while the whole thing was really disruptive, I was so proud of how I showed up through the whole thing, that I'm starting to believe that I'm actually walking my own talk, because I'm a natural hothead and I'm stubborn. I mean, I have an Aries rising and a Taurus moon. Forget about it. And my Libra is all conflicted because it wants me to like you, or wants you to like me. So I'm really very proud of my own observations of myself, even though I'm still basically Teri. Doesn't mean I'm not hot on the inside, but if I'm not barfing it on the outside, then I feel better. Yeah, I don't want to react. And I think that's so on the docket right now. That's why I really think that Jupiter's weird. I think it's a square and a half. It's probably done now, actually, but that square and a half we were feeling from Pluto to Jupiter was really mucking it up. That first half of the first 2.5 weeks of August. All right, on to our Pisces, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Ooh, the sun. This is a beautiful card. We see, everything grows in the sun, when you get this card. But it's also to be aware of the big cinder block wall. These sunflowers had to work hard to grow above whatever blocks so that they could see. And there was a sense of vulnerability. This is actually Apollo as a child sitting on this horse. So I think those sunflowers indicate a time, a gestation period of growth. Let's see where we're going. And we know Saturn is going through your first house. That can feel a little bit repressing, but it also, to me, is very much about building a strong foundation with my team on the other side, with my personal inner voice and oversoul, and using that as the platform for all action. So before I start the live, I always take a minute to thank God and the angels for being with me, to guide my voice, to make sure I don't screw up and say one planet when I meant another. And I always and I invite all you in to come to benefit from this show. I want you to feel accepted. I want you to feel loved. I want you to feel supported, and to create that kind of environment. So I want to offer my Pisces of all, connecting with your team, before you start any creative endeavors, because this could bring a lot of bounty and a lot of fun. Let's see. Our first angel is Ray, talking about connecting with your team. I love it. Then we have Archangel Uriel. This could be dealing with any of the frustrations that Saturn has brought into your first house. Then we have Isaiah. There are new ideas coming, new ways of and being protected. And then we have Yvonne, which talks about a certain vulnerability. Now we know that as Saturn goes through your first house, we know that Virgo is your 7th house, and Venus has been traveling through that house. Again, Venus is not so sexy there. She's in fall. She's not feeling like, she's very respected there. And so there could be a little period of time here where your self-worth is a little bit in question. And I don't know if it's in question from others, but I feel like this is also a very creative card. And I feel like maybe it's about being vulnerable. Okay, I'm going to be really stupid right now. I might lose a few people in the chat. I watched General Hospital, and on Friday's episode, the character Lois, who has a very thick Bronx accent, was criticized for her accent, and yet she was vulnerable enough to be herself, and then she's accepted by the live TV audience after a little bit of a moment. I feel like that's where I'm going with it a little bit. Are you laughing at me because of GH? I know. Are you watching? Christina and Molly. Ooh. Okay. Sorry, I digress. Luke and Laura, yes. Okay. Lucky's coming back. I don't know if you still watch. I watch. Okay. Sorry, Pisces. Ray is being joined by the serpent. Okay. Archangel Uriel is being joined by the wind fairy. Isaiah is being joined by the creative fire fairy. And the owl is joining Yvonne. I want to offer this because, again, this is not an easy transit to have Saturn going through your first house. It can feel very repressive and dampening. It can stoke your fears. It can make you feel, as a Pisces, it can make you feel very vulnerable to your connections to other people, and are you valuable? Here, the connection is so important for you to connect with your team. You see Ray is sitting in a meditative position. Her power comes from her third eye. We see it flanked by her heart chakra color and then her voice. And here is this healing and knowledge being offered in the form of the serpent. So I want to offer it this way. I think that there's potentially something creative that's wanting to be birthed from my Pisces. It needs to come out. And if it's come out a little bit, I think it gets to be nurtured. If it hasn't come out at all, it might be that the time might be right for that, because I think you've been too much in your head and too much trying to figure out how to make it happen versus allowing it to come out naturally. Because the fire fairy feels very much about creative action from an inspired place. And then we have Isaiah protecting you while you're gestating an idea. So something is being birthed. It's not actually, it's in the gestational process. It isn't actually been birthed yet, because now is the time for you to be vulnerable to the roller coaster ride of creativity. Whenever, if you want to be a songwriter, or you want to be a painter, or you want to be an interior designer, or you want to be creative with money, whatever your creativity, however you would want to express yourself, there is always going to be a critic out there and a supporter out there. And as you start to recognize that the bigger your game gets, the more likely there could be critics out there, then you can shift that from being debilitating to be uplifting. I'm in the game. So, here we go. If I wasn't in the game, there wouldn't be anybody criticizing me, because there's a certain amount of vulnerability that gets to be demonstrated here. And for some reason, I really think this comes from you, your creativity, your sense of fun, your sense of pleasure, your sense of entertainment, what makes your garden grow. All right, on to our Aries, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Are there any cameras? Did you look to see if there's anybody has a ring camera or a camera in the neighborhood? Or maybe there's even a street light camera or something where you can see who the people were? Okay, for our Aries, this is kind of a nice one. I'm going to take it. This is the star. This is about, in many ways, we call this the faith card. It very much rules astrology. Obviously, it's the star. But the thing that's so important is that this character it's something that she's pouring in is secular. She's aware of it. But the thing behind her, it has legs. It has more. So there's something going on. And Aries wants to take action. Aries is like, let's go kill the bad guy. Let's go jump off that cliff. Let's go beat our competitor. But there is this beauty that Mars is exalted in Capricorn, which means that Mars and Capricorn have a synergistic, yummy relationship, even if one is slow and the other is fast. I bring this up because Pisces is your 12th house. And as Saturn is going through your 12th house, it's giving you an opportunity to revisit your personal history, and now to have faith that you can demonstrate that warrior as a hero, as someone who has skills and prowess and uses their head. Aries rules the head. Gemini rules the mind. The head encases the mind. All right. I always think of that because my birthday's on the 17th. So I think I was think of that as well, the 8. Okay. And I think of it as transformation. I really do. I know it's a prosperity number 2, but without that transformation, it's hard to get prosperity to come in. All right, Aries, our first angel is Crystal. Boy, they've shown that up again a lot. We have then Fiona. Now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to God and the angels helping you. You are being protected. And there is Merlina. You know, for me as an Aries, one of the most important things I've learned over this last almost 10 and a half months is how no action can be action. And initially it was holding back anger for me, or holding back my self-righteousness. You done me wrong, I'm going to teach you a lesson. But then I also learned that when I stopped taking action, Spirit opened a door for me to walk through so much more effortlessly. And I think that's a big deal, because that's what I think the star is implementing or indicating. Something's happening behind the scenes that will give you an opportunity to be more effective when you get where you're going, or when the door opens. Crystal is being joined by the disruption card. Fiona is being joined by the water fairy. Xana is being joined by the birth and the rebirth card. And then Merlina is being joined by the fear card. I want to say to my Aries, have no fear. This is about faith in the time of no action, in a time when the physical is taking a back seat to the spiritual, to the metaphysical, and to the emotional. Something is happening regarding a disruption. Something's happening behind the scenes. And what Spirit is saying is, don't focus in on the disruption. Focus in on the outcome that you would like to have happen. And in that, now that you ask God and the angels for help, be open to receiving and connecting with it emotionally. The water fairy is a 28, which reduces down to a 10. Yes. And I want to offer that because I think that this is about the water fairies asking you to go into your emotional body versus in your head, because inadvertently Mars can want to take action and start strategizing. I'm going to do this to them. I'm going to do that. And everything that is effectual comes from the be, do, have. What is my belief? What is my attitude? What is my disposition? Because right now you're being literally protected from old habits. There's a rebirth coming. This is a Plutonian energy. And right now, because the star is about faith, you don't get to see the outcome. You don't get to know. You get to feel that you're right. You get to feel that justice will be on your side. But in order to truly feel the win, is the win on a material, emotional, and spiritual level. So right now, Aries, you're in charge of the emotional and spiritual level, while Spirit is taking care of the material, because you don't have an answer yet. The balance has not come in. And this fear card, to me, you could go two ways. You could either have the faith that this disruption will work itself out, because there's not an answer right now. In fact, I'm going to pull one more from my Camelot deck to see if I can get a little clarity for Aries. All right. So this is where I just pulled the movement card. You can't see the movement right now. It is very much happening behind the scenes, just like this card is indicating. And I want to offer that because I think that Pluto's retrograde back into your 10th house could very much change your public status. Meaning this: if people have thought you were a hothead, or if people thought you moved too fast, or you're too aggressive, or you're too, there's certain signs when you say to somebody, I'm a Leo, I'm a Scorpio, I'm an Aries, people go, oh. It's being rewritten, because each one of those signs, you want to have your back when you're in a battle. But here, something's happening. Go on the interior, feel it, connect with Spirit, and your call to action will happen soon enough. Okay. On to our Taurus, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. I always come into the midst of conversations that you guys are having, and just call me seed said, be careful what you ask for. And that is so incredibly true. I've told you guys, Years ago, I moved to North Carolina. I was so irritated with California. I hated it here. I hated everybody. I thought they were all mean. Everybody was rude. And all I kept saying for about a year and a half was, I just want to wipe the slate clean and start over. I just want to wipe the slate clean and start over. I did not realize the magnitude of my words, because in 2003, in the move back from North Carolina, I lost everything I own, and they wiped the slate clean, and I had to start over, and it was devastating. Now, through that devastating period, I understand the power of my words, very much so. So I like to use general. Everything's always working out for me. Everything I need is provided for me. I have flow and resources. Flow and resources is much more powerful than I have $1 million. Because if you don't believe you can win $1 million or that you have $1 million, then you have a wobble in your belief. So when you open it up like that, the wobble usually goes away. All right, on to our Taurus. Did I do Taurus already? No, I did Aries. All right, Taurus, here we go. This is going your own way. This is moving away from the crowd in some ways. You know, this card is interesting because oftentimes people think this guy's a thief because he's got a little bit of a smirk on his face. I don't know where there's any indication that he's a thief. Maybe it's him slinking away, or is he dancing as he leaves the crowd, as he takes his own 5 swords and says, I'm going to think independently. The 5 is very much about independent thought, about freedom. And I'm going to leave those other 2 behind because I don't know if I want to be part of the caravan or of the group. So let's see where we're going with this. Because Taurus very much likes a sense of predictability through experiences, having history. And Uranus retrograding in your first house could change up how you're thinking about things. You could literally have, you can go your own way. I would break out into Fleetwood Mac's song, but again, I don't want to torture y'all. Now I'm going to have that stuck in my head all day long. Christy McVie. Exactly. That's perfect, Lucy. All right. Taurus, our first angel is Crystal. Has Crystal come up in almost every reading today? Something's happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. And I want to offer this because while we see a lot of division, we see a lot of hate and a lot of character slinging back and forth everywhere. And I want to offer this too, because as I said that, I felt like I was driving on the highway and saw road rage. Okay, so I'm not just talking about politics. I want to offer this. I think that this crescendo that we're feeling could potentially be where it gets so ridiculous that it brings in a ceasefire. Well, okay, like asking me and the family. So you had an unexpected sibling came into your life and then she created discord? That honestly would be like a fear of mine through ancestry.com. You know, you meet someone and then they're a total nightmare. All right, I'm sorry. Taurus, let me go on. I got distracted. We have Archangel Raphael in the 2nd position. We have Maya, which is about schooling and education. And then we have Caressa. This feels very much like independent thought. It's almost as if the retrograde, and again, this retrograde goes on through January. So there could be a whole different way of viewing things. You could find yourself being more willing to think independently or to have a different idea. This 7 of Swords is very much about taking my 5 swords and moving away. I'm going away from something. I'm not thinking like everybody else. So Crystal has faith and hope. There's the B card, which is about victory. We have Archangel Raphael in here with partnership. We have Maya and the Joy card. We have Caressa and the restriction card. Uranus is making aspects to Pluto and Neptune through its retrograde, and they're favorable aspects, making a sextile to Neptune and a trine to Pluto. I feel as if when I'm looking at this, there's the potential that Taurus is, it's, you know what, I kind of want to put it, it could be a reconciliation of your own personal history. You know, it could be not about the outside world at all. It could be very much about, you know what, I get it. A few months ago, I had this epiphany. I've always been known, or I've always been told by my sister, my dad, and, you know, my stepmother, that, and not in so many words, but, well, my sister maybe, but that I'm not very forgiving. I'm a hothead. I'm too aggressive. I'm too hostile. And I'm only hostile to people who try to feed me bullshit and make me do stuff that's just straight up lie for me. So now then I started to have thoughts of my grandparents, and they had a very tumultuous relationship. It wasn't easy, and I love them very much. And I realized I'm not an unforgiving person. I'm a very forgiving person. But if you don't apologize to me without being genuine, I don't accept it. And the hothead in me comes out. Something is happening for Taurus where you are thinking individually, and you're going to be somehow, you're going to allow yourself to move past whatever the story has been, the history of something, and you're going to think independently, and I think it's going to be the end of restriction for you, or the end of some kind of feeling tied or tethered to what has been. When I look at this 7 and I look at the caravan, I think of it's the community, the neighborhood, potentially the place where I grew up. And now I'm leaving that because I no longer, or I'm taking some of my thoughts and I'm individualizing myself. The B is victory. It also goes back to the be, do, have. Then I have Crystal saying have faith and hope. There's more on the horizon that you can't see. And I think that this is a victory for you in many ways. I have Archangel Raphael and the partnership card. So I feel almost as if this is in regards to an actual relationship, because this is very individualistic. This is the healing of a relationship. It could be that you are implementing your own individuality that serves to, or individual thought is where I really want to put it. And maybe you are able to do that in a way that shifts things, because this is a 7, 16 reduces down to a 7. We have the partnership card is a 32, which reduces down to a 5. This card is a 7. He's holding 5 swords. Now we see the joy card, and here is schooling and education. And the joy card is a 37, which reduces down to a 10. I think this is about the individualization of thought. I think this is somehow moving away from an old story that, I have to be this way, or I was this way, and now I get to move, because there's an end of a restriction is coming. There's a freedom coming for my Tauruses. There's a release of some kind, and I feel like it's an emotional release, or it's a release within the mind of a reconciliation that makes me no longer chew on something. I'm trying to sever, is that the word, sever a 20-year relationship? I want to offer this for Lucy. When we find ourselves in relationships that no longer serve us, then we just say to Spirit, thank you for drawing to me all the friends, the intimate partners, the family members who best resonate with me and my growth and my evolution. And then Spirit will start to put things in place that can move people out of your sphere. That's the way I want to put it. Sometimes they move them straight out of your environment. They get a job across the country, and then you don't have to deal with them regularly. I know I do that all the time, and then I reread it after I use the speech one, because I can't type as fast as I think, and there's a typo in it. But anyway, all right, let's go on to our Geminis, rising, moon, sun, and stelliums. Your card is the Chariot. This is a really powerful, great card. This is a victory card. This rules the sign of Cancer, of home. We know that the charioteer is by nature supposed to be moving, but when we look at the chariot itself, it is cement. And his base chakra is blocked off, calling forth a calling upon the higher chakras in order to connect. That's where the victory comes. His protection is the moon. That's the Cancer energy of your intuitive body, and then the canopy of stars. So his connection to his spiritual self, and this is also about duality. The Sphinxes absolutely represent duality. Thank you, Pixie Sacred Journey. Thank you. I haven't seen Scarred Owl in a while. I just thought of her when I saw Pixie's. I wonder how she's doing. All right, here we go. Let's see. For our Geminis. Now, let's say this. Gemini, you have Jupiter running through your first house. And this Jupiter, whether we realize it or not, also represents religion. It also represents from religion to the connection to your team, a philosophical, spiritual dynamic. So as you say to yourself, okay, Spirit, my mind is running amok right now because there's too much information coming. There's too many people with opinions. Things feel very fast in the Gemini energy for this last month. Mars is still transiting through that house, and the speed feels quite palatable. So here I feel like, help me to connect with that intuitiveness. Help me to connect with the authenticity within, and this is where the victory lies. This is absolutely a card where you win. So let's see where we're going. Oceana, that's the emotional body, trusting and loving yourself. Rosetta is about parenting, teaching, and guiding children. Serena is about abundance. And then Maya is about schooling and education. Oh. We know that Gemini rules the childhood experience. It rules early children, meaning childhood, grammar school, nursery school, junior high. That's the 20-year relationship, is the Gemini rising with the Scorpio, or he's a Scorpio with a Gemini rising and a stellium in Scorpio. Wow. That's a lot. Okay. So for my Geminis, we have Oceana and the Letting Go card. We have Rosetta and Merlin. We have Serena and the Lady of the Lake. We have Maya and the Grail Knight. All right. This is the hard part for my Geminis. You rule everything to do with everyday life. You rule all those communications, all those interactions, all those roadways, everything that moves. And in all that movement, sometimes the heart, the intuitiveness gets kind of jettisoned out. Because you guys know that, who have been here for a while, the Letting Go card is the song Let It Go from Frozen. So it's funny how some distance makes everything look small. And the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits, to break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me. I'm free. This is very much about letting go of the fear that is blocking your intuitive body. And I think the victory comes for my Geminis in the duality. You rule duality. You rule two of everything. So here, to me, this is really about starting to see that ebb and that flow and starting to sort of pay attention. Now, when I go to Rosetta and I see Merlin, I think that this is if I was doing a personal reading, I would see the children's card very different, okay? But when we're in this room, I see it, children are unfiltered. They don't know to be fearful yet. They have a great sense of trust. They trust their intuitiveness. I think this is about Gemini trusting the inner child. I think this is going back a little bit into being willing to be a new kind of student. And this is the student of balance and of alchemy, and how everything that we create. Alchemy is literally pressure that creates that diamond. You go into this pressurized situation. I really think that's what's going on. So here for my Geminis, there's that war between your emotions and between your head. We see her hair is flying everywhere. We see her emotional body. What do I do? What do I do? And the truth is held ever so gently in the middle. And then we have Serena, which is about abundance. But at this moment, it's about serenity. It's about literally Gemini saying, dear God and angels, my brain is going back and forth. I don't know what to do. Help me to find my inner voice without all the outside noise, because I think you're literally having an energetic class in bowing down to your truth, to your truth. I have found that in the last 16 years, and I'm going to talk a little bit about politics, because way back when Obama was being elected, I very much was impassioned by the idea of voting for the first Black president of the United States. I very much did not pay attention to his platform. I heard about Obamacare, but I didn't pay enough attention. And if I would have paid attention, I don't know if I would have voted for him, because I hate Obamacare. I feel like it's a trap. And it's just my personal opinion. Please don't come after me for it. But what I'm talking about is, I think that there's a discernment coming. I think that back then, I remember having a conversation with a friend who said to me, you're voting for this person because they're going to be the first Black president. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to help change history. It didn't work out so good, because there's something about trusting your gut. There's something about looking at the dualities. There's something about the dualities that's taking you back and forth, Gemini. And it's about going under the dualities of what you're hearing with your senses and trusting something deeper inside. And that's very much evidenced by the sword here of the Lady of the Lake and the Grail Knight. Because the Lady of the Lake put the sword, the Lady of the Lake put the sword in the stone. And it was the Grail Knight and his purity that could pull the sword out. And if the sword represents our thoughts, then this is about an opportunity to have our thoughts be the tool that represents our spiritual and emotional knowing. Cancer, intuitiveness. Okay. Yes, Lucy, and our tongue. Absolutely. All right, on to our Cancers, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. And then we'll do our Leos and we'll be done for the day. It's really not easy to trust the inner knowing at first. It's really spooky, because usually it goes against the grain, like all your friends want to go, over to that club drinking. You're like, I don't know. I just feel like something bad's going to happen. And you don't go. And then you find out they got busted or they got in trouble. They didn't have their IDs. I know it's an old story, meaning I could get into any bar I want, but you know what I'm trying to say. You got to trust yourself. You got to be a little bit of a black sheep every once in a while. I say it. All right. Here we go, Cancer. Rising moon, sun, and stelliums. The Tower. Unexpected, irrevocable change. Now you have Capricorn is your 7th house. We're going to see Pluto dip its toe back into your 7th house. Again, I'm going to focus in on peace, harmony, diplomacy. This card for me is very, very Uranian. Oftentimes, other tarot card people think it's Mars, but Uranus rules lightning. It rules rebellion. It knocks the current regime off of its crown because it doesn't work anymore. Everything about this speaks to me to be Uranus. Unexpected and irrevocable change. We see that one of the characters is wearing a crown. So we see 2 crowns. We see the crown at the top, then we see the crown on this character. So somewhere a false crown is dropping in your life. You really can never, the thing that's so funny about the Tower is that we often think of it as scary, but the truth of the matter is the Tower can very much blow the bad shit out, pardon my language, and create a new space. So somewhere where there would have been repression, if we look at this card carefully, they're blowing up a cement tower that's sitting on an ice castle. This has got to be a prison of some kind. Even if it had a certain amount of benefit, it's a prison. Stephen, that could very well be a liberation of some kind. People telling you, I get that a lot sometimes. I used to get it more. You're hot, you're this, you're that. All right, Cancer. Our first angel is Vanessa, faith over fear. The second is Aurora. You're flying high right now. Don't descend, because you will soon inspire others. We have Adriana leading you to the answers to your prayers, and Merlina at the end here. Let's see where we're going. Because this could be an opening of some kind that then leads to a new assessment of our plan. Vanessa is being joined by the Truth card. Aurora is being joined by the cleaning house and the emotional release. We have the King, which represents justice and things pertaining to the law. Merlina is being joined by all right. Okay, so I'm just going to say it. The closer and closer we get to the election, and as things change, we all know Robert F. Kennedy dropped out of the race, started, to back Donald Trump now. And I say this only because this is going to be a hot topic for quite some time. Our liberties, and we are the globe. We are affecting the globe. So people around the world are watching this. But my point is this. For my Cancers, your truth does not have to be expressed to other people, but having faith in your truth, connecting with God and the angels, seeing where you are. Am I making my decisions based on fear? Am I making a decision? Oh, let's go buy that house. I don't really like that house, but my partner really wants that house. I don't think it'll work. Wherever you are not being completely authentic, something's going to push you into being authentic. Maybe you won't even plan it. Maybe it just comes out of you. But here, it's time for you to express yourself and release whatever that is that you've been thinking about. And whether you realize it or not, it could work in your favor. So let me offer it this way, because oftentimes we don't want to hurt other people's feelings with our opinions or being contrary to whatever they want, but it isn't really what you say, it's how you say it. So what if Adriana is leading you to the answers to your prayers because you're learning how to speak from an inner truth, from something that feels like your law, your authority, your inner knowing? This King, both the King and the Queen, assume a very relaxed position. They're, and with all that responsibility, you think there would be more stress. But here, I think that Cancer is learning to communicate from a more authentic place. Merlina is offering balance, and there's our communication. And let me offer this as well. This could be about the internet, because Uranus rules the internet. And if you're listening to stuff that gets your blood pressure going, or you're involved, or somebody's bashing your truth, or whatever the case may be, you might need to go on a media diet. I referenced earlier, my Yahoo feed has become super weird. I feel like I'm being stalked by Kamala Harris asking me for money every day. She comes up on my YouTube feed. She comes up on my Yahoo feed. I'm like, why is she asking me for money every day? I don't want to give money to anybody. I need my own money because everything's so expensive. Pardon me for yelling. So my point here is this could be a little bit of a challenging week for you. You could find yourself on an interior level wanting to rebel. You could find yourself sick and tired of something that's felt oppressive. And I think that faith and that truth card really indicate connecting with your team and asking for guidance as you have to walk through this earthly place. I just feel like, I don't know. I don't like people who tell me they're going to make my life better financially and then they ask me for money. I just don't. I don't know. All right. That's just one example. I don't know. I have a lot of, it feels like, because maybe it's the DNC and why there's so much politics was sort of bombarding me this week. I don't like to give people money. I like to give money to people I want to give money to, but I don't like to give money to people that ask me for it. I don't know why. I'm weird that way. I'm very generous and stingy at the same time. It's a weird thing. I don't know how to explain it. Okay, our final sign of the day is our Leos, rising moon, sun, and stelliums. Okay, this is the Knight of Pentacles. Now, this is a very interesting energy because it is the earth energy. It is kind of a Virgo energy, actually. Let's look and see where we're going, because there's no movement in this card, and there can be a little bit of stagnation. Let's see where we're going. We know that Mercury is retrograde in your first house. It will go direct this week. We also know that Pluto's been making an opposition to your 7th house. Then get yourself a grounding blanket. I'm a grounding sheet. I don't know if you guys all remember, but I tell you, I've been on this thing for 2 weeks, and I love this sheet. I've been testing it by eating bad food that's salty to see if it still helps, and it does. So I'm going to start a cleanse tomorrow and really knock this thing. Grounding sheet. Amazing. All right, Leo, we have Archangel Raphael. There's an epiphany coming. Something's happening, a physical reconciliation. Maya is here. There's a schooling, there's something important going on. And I think that there's an education coming about how you're thinking. Let's look. There's Merlina and there's Isaiah. We have Archangel Raphael is being joined by the Fear card. We have the Frog joining Maya. We have Merlina being joined by the Horse. And then we have Isaiah. All right, so this is a little challenging for my Leos. I'm going to say it. Because I think maybe this is about not being too stuck in the way that you're thinking. It's interesting. This is, we don't see many black horses in the deck at all. Most of them are white. And so here there's a shadow side of the lack of movement. We see that the potentials for growth come both on the horse's third eye. We see some foliage, and then at the top of the helmet. And so I think that there could potentially be an opportunity for my Leos to grow out of fear, meaning realizing that fear is the very thing that gives you the ability to feel achievement, accomplishment, excitement. Archangel Raphael is offering an epiphany. Look at the bright thing popping off of his head. Fear is a 48, which reduces down to a 12, which reduces down to a 3, which to me is that Trinity today. It's that fear is the very thing that when I walk through it and I go, okay, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm going to trust my heart. I'm going to have the courage. That's what Leo rules. I feel invigorated. Maya is this is an education about the mind, a cleaning up of the emotional baggage, and a lack of movement. This could literally, I really think this could be that you're afraid. The way I do astrology is not like other people. I combine numbers. I combine all sorts of weird theories. It's very psychologically oriented about the mind, about the power of the self. I know, but I know it's not going to be for everybody, but I'm willing to think if I build it, the people who will resonate with it will come. And that's what I think is important for my Leos, because I think on some level, when I look at this, I see a Sagittarian energy. I see that energy of potentially, look, this horse isn't moving. This horse is moving. And this Merlina to me is about the magic of alchemy again. The idea of, that contrast gives us information that gives us choices, which then give us opportunity to stretch our power. Because I think that this is about not being mad anymore. This is like, it's time to give birth to new ideas, and this frustration and the anger that potentially could come from fear of blocking yourself, of stopping yourself from something. When Pluto moves into Aquarius, it's going to move into your 7th house of peace, harmony, cooperation, justice, fairness, and it's all going to feel like a 2.0 version. So I think, I love my fixed signs. Sometimes they can get stuck in their point of view. And if I think about the idea of Aries is all right, so Leo That would make Aries your ninth house. So this is an opportunity to rewrite your belief system by integrating in many ways your history with the potentials of something new. For some reason, this just feels like you've been blocked for a while, or you haven't got what you wanted, and now you're starting to get aggro about it. And even though you could be aggro and feel stubborn, like, okay, nothing's moving. But how about you thinking, well, maybe if I open a space and say, you know what, bring in an experience that shows me something's moving. This is a protection, angel. The protection comes as we start something new. And that newness may be being Leo coming from their heart, and their heart for themselves. My heart wants this. When I first started my work, I knew that I wasn't like a psychic that was like a crystal ball. I'm going to predict your life and bye-bye. I knew that I wanted to empower people through my readings. I knew that my readings were going to be probabilities, not inevitabilities. So I did Teri, and then it was scary. And you can see all my screw ups. If you go to my really early videos, I talk like this. Hello, how are you? I'm all locked up. I'm worried about being old. I'm worried. All that started to fade away somewhere. And that's why I think this is important for Leo, is to look where you're stubborn, look where you won't let there be movement, be a little braver in connecting with your team and saying, thank you for giving me the courage to move with my heart towards what is important to me, so that I don't end up roaring all over the Serengeti. Pluto will move back into Aquarius on November 19th, 2024, and it will be there for a long, long, long time, till 2043. Yeah. I want to offer this to those that have stuck around to the end, my 12 disciples. I love you so much. When we start to look at the malefics in what they have to offer us in breaking up the disempowerment in our lives, the thoughts that hold us back, the thoughts that make us want to conform instead of allowing ourselves to be expansive, I think that we're going to be ahead of the curve. That's the way I want to say it. I think, I know Saturn's hard. I know that Uranus pulls things out of nowhere. Do I have trepidation about when I'm going to experience Saturn and Neptune over my south node? Absolutely. But I also know that I can prepare for that transit by really connecting with my team, by trusting my intuitive knowing, and by taking care of the temple that is my body that facilitates that inner knowing. So everybody, watch over yourselves. You are amazing creatures. You are a piece of the divine here on this planet. And as such, your light should shine bright. So I hope it does. So that's it for this week. I'll be back next week again with more Teriisms for you. All right, everybody. I love you. I'm going to get on to my day's readings. I want Small have a beautiful, beautiful birthday. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you celebrate. I hope you do something completely cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and, pamper yourself, do something frivolous that isn't practical at all. Drop a little dough, get your hair done. I don't know, just get a massage, whatever you love, but enjoy the day. I'll be saying prayers for you, and I'll be seeing you next week. All right, everybody. Thank you. And thank you to the new people in the room, Soul Secret Service. And we had, I think, Nikki or something earlier. I just want to say thank you for being here. All right, everybody. I'm gone. Have a great day. I'll see you next Sunday.